I think it'd be cool if like the three of us would go to like a comedy club or something and just talk about it, and we just bullshit in front of a live audience or something one day.
I think that'd be fun.
I'd love to do that. Or like we do it live at Mahoning yet too.
Dude, that'd be funny as hell. Dude, do a whole Mystery Science Theater there.
Yeah, do a Showgirls.
Oh my gosh. No.
Could you imagine Showgirls on 35mm?
I can't. You'll literally hear me get up and leave.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Jeff and Collin in the Morning. We are your hosts, Collin Peters.
And Jeff Manfred.
Today we got a brand new topic that we haven't really, surprisingly, talked about at all, especially in the science fiction realm.
I know I hinted at it at one of our movie morgues, and it was kind of like a precursor of this precursor.
It's going to be more of an enlightenment episode for probably the two most famous science fiction franchises in like entertainment, movie history, even especially now TV history.
Yeah.
It's Star Trek and Star Wars.
Truthfully, a lot of you already know my opinion on this because I am actually a fan of both, but I still prefer Star Trek over the both because even though Gene Roddenberry started in 66, it's 11 years before Star Wars came out in 77. So it's like I don't understand why the whole argument is there, because if you look at the whole concept of each thing, literally, I'm even joking about this, you got space wizards versus literally a space navy. So what the fuck is the whole argument about?
I think part of it is they both have star in the title. It involves space travel. You have a group of people that you fall, like, I don't want to say you fall in love with, but I mean, it sounds mushy when I say that, but essentially you do. You love these characters. But Star Wars is more, like, political based and, like, good versus evil, and Star Trek's more, like, discovering things that are never discovered before, and they have this, like, really cool philosophy twist of, like, maybe if, like, this way of life continues this route, it'll be extinct, or we need to learn from mistakes. That kind of interesting quality to it. It's definitely something built around the science fiction nerds, obviously. It's, I mean, I'll admit to being a science fiction nerd. I'm not a big science fiction space guy in general anyway. Like, I'll admit, with Guardians of the Galaxy, I was kind of like, great, we got comic book characters in space more now. I was like, there's like so much space sci-fi shit from, was it Battlestar Galactica yet? And I don't know what else is all out there. I mean, it just gets so overdone. And I know we were talking about it, like not officially, but we were talking about the Alien Predator franchise. They're about as like sci-fi in space that I get as well, but this is pretty much the main things that people kind of think of, when it comes to Star Trek and Star Wars and space and all this other shit. I know Star Trek has some fighting in it, but it's really not as so in-your-face action-packed as Star Wars is.
I can see that. Like, I know definitely in the original series, like, a lot of the fighting was more or less one-on-one. It wasn't like full-scale battles. It was a lot more hand-to-hand combat. And with Star Wars, you're having the blasters, the lightsabers, like
the ship fight.
Yeah. But if you even look at your protagonists in the original movies and the original show, like, you got Kirk, Spock, and Bones. You're pretty much your three that you follow throughout the whole thing. And in the original New Hope, you've had Luke, Leia, and Han. So you kind of, and Chewie.
Yeah.
So you got those two. Like, it's kind of like a big difference there because you got like your science officer, your captain, and your medical officer. And over here, you've got a scoundrel, his partner, a princess, and a farmer.
Who will wind up becoming one of the greatest heroes of all time in the galaxy. Primarily because of his genetic powers that he inherited.
Before we start this off, there are going to be spoilers because obviously there's 50 and 60 years worth of science fiction out here, but just ahead in case you haven't seen any of it.
Just in case.
Yeah. And so when we're looking at that aspect, they're totally different things. Like you said, they're more or less like a science mission compared to full-scale Civil War. And to me, looking at it from both points of view, you have 23 episodes per season going through. You got 3 seasons, you got 3 movies. So it's kind of like, all right, they tried, but I know that when those movies came out, I guess Gene Roddenberry and CBS, maybe Paramount, were trying to do their movies, and I'm going to admit, that first Star Trek movie was so fucking boring.
I heard that a lot, actually. I don't even think it got a whole lot of good reviews either when it came out. So it was surprising to see that I guess it was successful, obviously, because, you got a second one out of it, and then Wrath of Khan is supposedly this, all-time great classic. And I'll admit, when I was growing up, I was more into Star Wars, and my first concept of Star Trek was actually that Next Generation with Patrick Stewart. It wasn't until later on when I found out that William Shatner and Leonard Nimoy as Spock were these other, the originals. I don't think at the time Best Buy even had the season. Not Best Buy. Blockbuster had the same colors and initials, but I don't think they had the sets either to watch. Maybe they did, but I just didn't have any real interest in them, and I just never really picked up Star Trek until kind of more recently, just a few years ago, really. It was okay, I'll give them a try, because one of my coworkers, he was talking about how he was a big Star Trek fan, and even he was saying, you can't really compare these two together because they're two totally different. Yeah, there's, similarities of science fiction DNA in there, but they are two totally separate entities, really. When I first started checking them out, I was went in with it with an open mind, and I dug how it was actually very, very mature. They, like I said, they told philosophy, morals in this crazy scientific space route mission, and it almost kind of made you feel is this the dead end, of humanity and life on Earth or something? I very rarely ever saw them on their own planet. Every time I watched a Star Trek episode, it was either they were in the ship and there was some other planet. Oh, we're supposed to investigate this. And I was okay. Do you go back to Earth at all?
It's very few and far between.
The same thing can be said with Star Wars. It's does Earth even exist in this universe?
Probably not, because if it being galaxy far, far away.
It's true.
It could, this is probably where I'm going to start getting hate. They both can exist in the same universe as a whole. So Star Trek and Star Wars could be there. Because there's also a zone in Star Trek they're not allowed to cross. Because it's the neutral zone. And I'm just saying, it could be that right on the other side is something else.
The unknown.
Yeah, because, Earth does exist in Star Trek. You see it once in a while. It's where Starfleet is. It's based out of, for obvious reasons. And then it kind of branched out from there, where you're getting your space stations, everything kind of moving outward. And they're trying to get everybody in it as a one galaxy. I don't even know if it's a galaxy anymore, because it's multiple galaxies.
I was even surprised to find out that when they did Wrath of Khan, that they followed the formula of the show, that Ricardo Montalban, who played Khan, was in an episode of Star Trek, and then they picked up in that sequel to the first movie that you said, and used that character from where he was abandoned since that episode of the original series. And I thought, wow, that's how they played that out? So it was a lot like what they do now with the Disney Plus shows like WandaVision and was it Falcon and Winter Soldier, where they they use these shows to tell a narrative, and then when a sequel or another movie comes out, they take that stuff that was being told for just the streaming at home stuff, and then they'll put it into a major motion picture experience for it.
And it makes sense because like you have a small screen platform you can use, and you could able to keep up with everything. It could actually build on your story, give a little more background. Take for instance Wrath of Khan. I saw the movie first before actually watching the show, and it was kind of funny because like saw multiple episodes of the original series when I was younger because of my dad, and I remember being younger and watching Next Gen. I never realized it was two separate series. I thought it was like a continuation. But when I saw the movie and then finally went back and rewatched the whole series, it made more sense. Because like as soon as I saw, I can't even say his name correctly. Guy who played Khan. When I saw
Ricardo Montalban.
Yeah. When I saw him in the show, I was like, oh no shit, is this what actually leads up to the movie? And then when I saw it play out, I think it was a 2-part episode and then the movie, I was like, holy fuck, this is amazing.
And they're doing that a lot lately because, like you said, you can tell a lot more in the span of a show because it has more airtime. You can tell a story more, build up more background or something that we didn't see. Like off the record, we were talking about Chucky, the TV series.
Yeah.
Like there was a lot about the Charles Lee Ray character before he died and put his soul into the doll that we all know from the franchise. Like it expanded on Jennifer Tilly's Tiffany character, their relationship, what motivated him as a kid to be a killer. Interesting stuff, and that wasn't even in as like a prequel episode. They told it sporadically while telling a narrative that was going on right then and there. Like, it was a great way to give fans more in the like any questions that people had. It was, well, we can answer them for you by doing this.
As we were talking about, it was kind of cool because like it actually, whatever piece of the past actually fit the present when they were telling that story too. So it was kind of nice seeing why he is this way or what caused him like to become this way.
And back then they probably had no idea. I mean, it took them what? When did the first movie come out for Star Trek?
I think around like 82, because I think it was right after I want to say Empire Strikes Back is when we finally got the first Star Trek movie around that time.
That would be 1980 then. Empire came out.
Okay, so it might be around that time. Don't hold me to that date, but the only reason I don't like talking about that first movie because it's bad. Like it's visually amazing, but essentially they are going up against God. So it's like
don't touch that.
Yeah, and like it's really slow paced. It's like, so you've got 2 Star Wars movies that are fast paced, boom, 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 a lot of action. Star Trek's answer is a slow 2.5 hours. So it's like, yeah, and it ends, and when you find that out, I'm like, really? I wasted 2.5 hours for this? So most of the time, I just skip that fucking movie and stick with Wrath of Khan. Wrath of Khan is probably their best movie, and the ones that follow it are good. They're actually, like you said, based more traditionally with the show, but each movie does play off of each other. So
okay.
Like 2, 3, and 4 fit into together, where 1 just kind of is over here. You stay over here.
Yeah, I know at one point Spock dies, but I guess he's able to be resurrected.
Yeah, I think it's Wrath of Khan, Search for Spock, and then I forget what the 4th one's called, but it all deals with whales.
Yeah, something about saving the whale. And then wasn't there another one where William Shatner directed it?
I think so. It might have been part of the Next Generation one, though.
Oh, that could be.
Because I know he crosses over. I know Spock crosses over a lot. He actually crossed over into the alternate universe one we got with Chris Pine.
I like that.
Yeah.
That was interesting. I kind of felt like, though, that basically everything that you love, though, was shit on, though. Whenever they do stuff like that, it's like if somebody was talking about, like, to get Robert Englund to come back as Freddy one last time. They think that maybe they should do kind of like a Halloween 2018 and forget the other movies and just have Heather Langenkamp come back as Nancy and give them one last fight, and maybe she has kids or something after they moved on. But then it also becomes, okay, but now you have this alternate timeline and you're kind of now getting rid of like one of the best horror films, like not just in that franchise, but something well loved with Dream Warriors.
But what if, hear me out, Dream Warriors happen, and when she dies, they were able to save her life, and that's what caused her not to have these nightmares anymore, because she was never afraid anymore.
Yeah, that's a I mean, there's definitely possibilities to it, and it seems like the way to go about it is this alternate route. I mean, I'd be game for anything really, but I mean, I just see that that's the way these franchises sometimes like to take these turns. But it's also cool because it's really a love letter to fans anyway, when you can bring back those old characters. Like when Leonard Nimoy was in the Star Trek remakes, it was cool.
The remakes, to me, they feel like the new term, requels.
Yes.
Because it is an alternate reality where the one that we know was still in place, still in use, and it's still going. Where this one actually created a whole new timeline to almost have a new generation of fans come in, and you're able to reintroduce characters in a different fashion. So take, for instance, when they brought Khan in, it was a totally different concept, but still parts of the original were there. And the fact that now Starfleet was the one who created this monster kind of was like, well, what else? How dirty are they?
Mm-hmm.
And then having, Peter Weller as the villain was actually the best part of that entire movie. It wasn't Khan at all.
Which, by the way, speaking of Nightmare on Elm Street, Heather Langenkamp is in Star Trek 2.
Oh, really?
She plays an alien, and the reason why is because her husband is a makeup artist, and he did the makeup on there. So, wow.
So the fact that you brought that up even fits better into the...
I know, right? It was just like boom, 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 boom.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's actually pretty fucking cool. I never even knew that.
But yeah, that's also where, like, I'm really game for a lot of the requels or the reboots. I mean, a lot of them are myths, and unfortunately, they're bad. Yes, but to be denied the fact that like there can't be a good story and another good movie out somewhere with new cast, new people, and just like give it some new blood. It's like really unfair to fans.
Oh, it is.
And I don't think it's fair that they get shit on the way they do. I mean, like there were parts that I would say like of the RoboCop reboot that I thought I liked, that I thought would actually work better for what RoboCop 2 should be. But it wasn't executed that well, and it wasn't executed properly. I thought there was a lot wrong with that movie. You know, I mean, go back to Nightmare on Elm Street and look at the remake for that. Oof. Yeah, bring Robert Englund and Heather Langenkamp back after that piece of shit. Please.
But, I mean, even could be said now, look at even the Star Wars franchise. Like, this is going to be... Alright,
Just say it.
When Disney gained control, like, all of us did... As Star Wars fans, did hate the prequels. I get it. They weren't as amazing as they could have been. The story was there, but I think some of the acting killed it. But we were introduced to a bigger universe than what we knew. So pretty much the original 3 movies were a nice Kickstarter. We got what we wanted out of it, but we wanted more as fans. And I think that was the problem.
Now, people might... I know you mentioned the prequels, and people probably are going to raise an eyebrow with me, but I'm actually going to be the one to say, like, I don't hate the prequels. I mean, episode 2 is absolutely horrible. And Jar Jar Binks in episode 1 is so fucking annoying, and I found that pod racing scene to be really boring and unnecessary. But there were some, like you said, it expanded some things that I did like seeing. I mean, does it make me hate the movie because it's only like okay in my eye? No. I mean, we got somebody like Darth Maul, and you had some like really cool lightsaber fight scenes, and they expanded more in the Jedi, which for me personally, I find the Jedi way more fascinating because they're different from soldiers with the blasters or the bounty hunters. They had special abilities that were like you would think they would have to be like the ultimate characters. Like, I wanted to be a Jedi like Luke or something, because I just thought it would be so cool to like have that sort of power. That's really neat. But I can understand why they stressed a little bit in the prequels. It was actually more on the poster for episode 2 that they have these like really strict rules, because it's no different than building a super ego, because they could probably just take over every galaxy really if they wanted to, which I guess is another reason why you have so many Jedi and the Sith have so many Sith, and the Sith are the bad Jedis, and they basically, I mean, you train your apprentice, it's possible they can just turn around and kill the masters to be like, well, I'm in charge.
Yeah, that's actually how that religion works. There's the rule of 2. Because if you keep having anything uncontrolled and it keeps building, what are you going to be able to control each other with? And that whole, I guess, religion would be they have to pretty much govern themselves in that fashion. If you're getting a new apprentice, the apprentice has to kill the master, or vice versa.
That's been part of my problem with Star Wars, that there's like so much expanded in that franchise that you don't even know what the hell some of the stuff is. Like how did we know the I think it was the AT-ATs? Like, I don't even know if they mentioned that's what they were in Return of the Jedi. Those big walking things with 2 legs.
Yeah.
Oh no, I think they were AT-STs.
Chicken walkers.
Yeah, and then the AT-ATs were in Empire.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't even know if they mentioned the names of those in that. Or like, what the hell was Darth Vader's shuttle name, or it was either in comic books or books themselves, and some of this other shit, or like the rules of the Jedi versus the rules of the Sith, and it's like, no, that shit came more in books or comic books later on, not necessarily in the movies.
Yeah.
But I remember hearing people who got into the comic books or the books, and they said that there was like so much more to the Star Wars universe that sounded so cool. Like, Luke winds up getting married and has a kid, and Han and Leia wind up having twins, and I guess they're trained in the Jedi arts. And that was, for the longest time, this is what's going to happen with Star Wars. And then we got the prequels, and I mean, yeah. I will always say that, like, even though Hayden Christensen wasn't the greatest actors, episode 3, I think, still gets, I feel like just because it's the prequel and it's the part of the trilogy, people go, oh yeah, they're all shit. But really, episode 3 is a solid movie.
Oh yeah, that actually shows his turn. It shows how angry and powerful he really is. And I feel like you said it, because of it being considered a prequel, it gets shit on the most.
Yeah, I think that's the only reason why. It's like, okay, we didn't like the first one, we didn't like the second one, and the third one's out, and it's almost like there's a shame of people to say, I liked it, but yeah, it's part of the shit quote, So I can't.
If I know, leading up to like everything now, like watching all the movies of Star Wars, I was one of the few that were totally against the prequel movies. Only because one of my biggest beefs is you have Christopher fucking Lee as a Sith, and you fucking kill him very poorly. Like, the whole fight was half-assed, and I feel like he could have been a bigger villain. You have a 4-armed alien that was a bigger villain than Christopher Lee.
Yeah, with a coughing problem.
Yeah. This asthmatic robot has more of a threat than fucking Christopher Lee. And then watching Anakin grow as a character from little boy to Darth Vader kind of felt like it was bullshit.
Yeah.
I think that was my other problem. But like as I got older, I started noticing more things with the movies. Like at least they were trying to keep it continuity, try to keep everything going to play. Like, even now that Disney owns it, they're looking at those as like, all right, we can use this to move something here, vice versa. Like, we can make new avenues for revenue.
Yeah. And I'm glad they did. I mean, I know their first venture into it was doing Force Awakens, which Force Awakens was fucking phenomenal.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't say I was like really super hyped about it until I saw the trailer and I said, okay, now I'm in. And then when I saw it, I just said, wow, this was really, really good. And then we got some of like the spin-off movies, like Rogue One, like in between some of the new trilogy. And Rogue One was really good. I actually can't say I hated Solo, but
It was all there.
yeah, I mean there were cool things like how he got the Falcon, how he met Chewie, and how he met Lando. But I didn't see it as like a necessary movie, really.
No.
I think another thing that killed it too was we saw Darth Vader being Darth Vader more in Rogue One.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
And I mean, I'm gonna say flat out, even as a kid when I really didn't know, like it's okay to root for bad guys, Darth Vader's always been my favorite Star Wars character.
Yeah.
Like I actually like rooted for him, and then here it turns out he was good.
Yeah.
So maybe it was like that kid. Like I knew something about this. Plus he just looked awesome.
Let's just think about that scene at the end of Rogue One. We all knew what was going to happen, but it was still shocking. But when they're on that ship and it gets quiet and it's dark, and all of a sudden you just hear that lightsaber and see that red.
And the breathing.
Oh my gosh.
Ugh.
That was the best part of the entire fucking movie.
It was!
He annihilates them. Annihilates.
It was Force and lightsaber, and oh man, it was everything that a Darth Vader fan wanted and more. And well, no, we wanted more. That was the problem.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking after Rogue One, it's like, can we please have like more Darth Vader scenes? Can we have more Darth Vader movies?
Lie to us, do something.
Because when Episode 3 ended, it literally ended when Anakin is damaged and he gets into the suit for survival that is the true image of Darth Vader that we know of. And that's how it ends. You know, it's not this connective, like, he turns and then it goes right into A New Hope. So you have at least, 18, 20 years?
Yeah.
You know, to, like, fill in some cool Darth Vader stuff?
I think it's 18 because isn't Luke 18 in New Hope?
I think. That's why I'm just calling it out like that. It's either 18, 20.
It's based upon how old Luke is in A New Hope.
Yeah, pretty much.
I think that's why they are doing the Kenobi show, because there's that big time gap.
Thank God.
Yeah.
And I'm so excited that I saw that Darth Vader's going to be in it, which I believe is Hayden Christensen yet, too.
Let's hoping his acting's better.
No, right? And Ewan McGregor, I always felt because the prequels did get shit on, but Ewan McGregor was so good as a younger Obi-Wan. I was like, you know, seeing the way Disney was doing these like prequel spin-offs, and they were pretty solid, like Rogue One was, and the quality of Solo was still better than what the George Lucas prequels were, despite what people think of Solo. I was so hoping that Ewan McGregor could come back in some way for a movie, or when they said the show, I was like, perfect.
Yeah.
Because there is this time gap where he is just watching Luke from a distance, and you know that he can't just be... He's probably training some other Jedi somewhere or something to help still let him live.
I think that, and after watching Order 66 happen, and that the Jedi getting annihilated, it was like, well, what happened? And we get a little bit of a taste in the show Rebels, finding out what happened to the Jedi.
Clone Wars.
Clone Wars was actually between 2 and 3.
That's right.
That was actually a cool, like, I'm going to give 2 props to those 2 shows, because they were, which are nice, they're both continuity. They showed what was happening between the movies when we, I guess, needed it the most. So Clone Wars, I think they just finished the last season, and it showed everything from episode 2 leading to 3, and what everyone's abilities started changing. And actually building new characters, showing the clones themselves actually being genetically altered so they cannot fight Order 66. And there's like 3 or 4 that were able to fight it, and they ultimately got killed. And there's others that actually got that part of their body cut out. So it's actually in the back of their head.
Oh, no kidding.
So when they figured it out, because it was towards the end of the one season, they start malfunctioning. And they start going after the Jedi, and nobody knows why. It wasn't until we find out in episode 3 what actually happens. So it was kind of cool seeing that. You also get to, I think it's in Rebels, you see that the Empire is actually gaining up Force-sensitive characters and turning them into what they're called Inquisitors. They are pretty much Sith, but they're not strong enough to be Sith. They're enforcers. And you saw what happened to the Jedi there. You're seeing what happened to the Force there. You actually get to see what happens to Darth Maul in the entire series.
That's what I got excited for. I didn't watch Clone Wars, but I was so excited to see and hear that Darth Maul came back.
That was actually one of the biggest story arcs in Clone Wars. They finished it in the newest season, and then they showed what happens to him at the end of Rebels, which you finally get a nice fight with Obi-Wan and Darth Maul, which I'm not going to tell you the ending, but we know obvious things.
Yeah.
But I'm hoping as this Obi-Wan show happens, we might actually get to see the live-action version of that.
Yeah, because I think there was a rumor going around about it, and I don't know if Obi-Wan's just going to be one season or what the deal is. I mean, obviously they're bringing Darth Vader back, like I said, but it would be cool to see some more Darth Maul, because he does make an appearance and a comeback at the end of Solo. Turns out he was like the main brain behind whatever conspiracy, if you will, that was going on.
And it makes sense. Like, you got a force-sensitive monster who, at that point, would have been just power-hungry. Because I know he went after Black Blade. He went after a lot of things. He even tried to take over Mandalore. So there's a lot of, like, character development with Darth Maul that I wish they could build upon.
And it's a great character. I remember thinking when I first saw Episode 1, I remember telling my dad that I was so pumped to see this guy, and his name was Darth Maul. I thought he looked great. He had the double-bladed red lightsaber.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
I remember the first time I saw it, I said, dude, this is sick!
Yeah. And that was the first time we got to see that. We were so used to the very stiff...
single blade.
Yeah, like almost sword fighting. Like, very stiff, like, blow a block here and there. That was, like, straight up just, like, fluid and almost dance movement like.
I'd argue and say that Episode 1 probably had one of the best lightsaber fights of the whole franchise. I will say that I think the best lightsaber fight was Anakin and Obi-Wan in Episode 3.
Up top, dude. I was going to bring that up. That one by far, I think, is the most theatric, too, because the jumping, the flipping.
The music.
Oh, that music's so powerful. Dude, and the fact that they're fighting over lava on droids and lifts, it's like, it made it a very intense moment. And it showed the change of Anakin becoming that monster.
And people don't really talk about this a whole lot, but you can see in Ewan McGregor's face in scenes, it's like he doesn't want to fight him, but it's kind of like kill or be killed sort of thing. And it's almost like there are scenes where he's kind of like in pain where he's fighting him. I don't want to do this.
He was torn to fight his own brother.
He even says that to Yoda. He goes, send me to kill the Emperor. I can't kill Anakin. And Yoda says, you can't take on the Emperor.
And it's funny because, even throughout the whole thing, Ewan McGregor gives Obi-Wan this bit of a sass, smart-ass comments throughout the whole thing. And just the way he plays it off, it's like a straight face, but smart-ass comment. And I was like, it was cool seeing that. I'm glad they are bringing him in for the show.
Ewan McGregor's so good in general. I mean, Alec Guinness is Alec Guinness. Don't get me wrong. He has his own career. He has his own history. He's always going to be the original Obi-Wan. But I feel like Ewan McGregor definitely became the face of Obi-Wan for sure. Just because of the longevity, more movies, more impactful scenes, more depth to character. That's Ewan McGregor.
Yeah. So as we're watching Ewan McGregor build this character based off of what we have seen in the prequel series, I feel like he had become the character. And even with the original guy, he didn't even think that movie was going to go anywhere, so he didn't give a fuck.
I don't think any of them did.
No, it was like a small little project that kind of went and happened. But I have to admit, after we got the original trilogy, where I feel like after Star Trek ended, we had that giant gap of really no sci-fi going until we got that. You had the horror movies, you had different random things, was it Odyssey 2001? Stanley Kubrick?
2001, A Space Odyssey.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was in the 60s.
So it's kind of one of those things all right, so what's the next big thing? Guaranteed we're going to get yelled at by all the internet nerds. But
oh yeah, I mean there's some others you can say Barbarella. I guess that was
did you actually watch it.
I didn't watch it. I just know of it.
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, I never really thought anything of Star Trek because like it was always identified as kind of like that weird thing that people watch in their basement, like really overly nerdy people. And it wasn't until, like I said before, watching it with my dad, I got to see some of it. And I was a huge Star Wars fan, but kind of going back and looking at it from a different aspect, I did start falling in love with Star Trek, even at a younger age. Like it was kind of cool seeing Spock and Kirk doing their thing, because like, dude, Spock is probably like one of the coolest characters. I know he gets a lot of notoriety because of Leonard Nimoy. He's the one character that kept coming back, even like you said, into the requel series. Even William Shatner playing Kirk, he came back up until I want to say Next Generation. There was a couple. He did a movie.
Yeah, I think wasn't it like him and Patrick Stewart as Jean-Luc Picard?
Yeah, I think it's called Generations, like some sort of time warp.
Like they're actually in the movie together, and spoiler alert, Kirk dies.
Oh no.
What a shame. I don't mean that as like, oh man, fuck William Shatner. I just mean that as like, something's gonna happen.
Yeah, even at that point, we all knew what was gonna happen because we all knew Picard wasn't gonna die at that moment, clearly. But it was like Bill Shatner, kind of like, it's cool seeing him play Kirk, but it's just like over time, it's like eventually you just gotta let it go.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, even now, like we talk about different things like Han Solo and Harrison Ford, like he didn't want to play Harrison Ford. He didn't want to play Han Solo anymore. So that's why, spoiler, he died in Force Awakens. He wanted to die back in the original
in Empire. And you know what? It made sense because, you know, if your main characters live, there's like no vulnerability there. Although Empire really did show vulnerability because Han was frozen and trapped and the bad guys took him. And then Luke was still really green with his training, but it really showed how much of a badass Luke was to just like, hey man, they're my friends, I gotta go save them.
Yeah.
You know, he risked everything, like, to do what he could to save them, and got his hand cut off. He just got his ass kicked by Vader, really, throughout the whole thing. But the thing was, though, every time he got knocked down, he just kept on getting back up. It was that not quitting attitude. And, you know, physically he looked like he was outmatched. The Force was outmatching him, but he just still kept on going. It wasn't even like the will of a Jedi. It was just the will of a person, really.
Yeah, and he was the underdog in the story. Everybody was in that original trilogy.
And people shit on Luke throughout the Star Wars trilogy, and they say like, oh, he was so whiny in the first movie, and it was like, well, fuck, dude, how the hell would you feel like if you say like, hey, we want you to like come with us on this like scary mission where you could potentially die pretty easily, and it's like, well, let me rethink about this.
Look at this way. Let's say potentially he's 18. Were you really whining at 18? I'm just asking.
Oh, hell yeah.
Exactly. And then finding out you got the weight of the world on your shoulders.
And not only that, but, you know, let's face it, we're millennials, so...
Oh, fuck you. I believe we're called elder millennials.
Well, you know, our happy reputation.
But,
yeah.
But I think the other reason that Star Trek also got that bad taste in everyone's mouth is because the show quality after Next Gen, after Gene Roddenberry died, really kind of went downhill. Like, don't get me wrong, like, each had the really cool character aspects, like Deep Space Nine and Enterprise, and I can't remember, there's a third one in there. Those shows, like, I remember being sick watching them on Sci-Fi at home. That I'm not going to go out of my way and watch them. But it was like one of those things I felt like that also tarnished it for a while. And
gets oversaturated.
Yeah, because there's too much. Like, we got Worf in, I think it was Deep Space. It was cool seeing that crossover. Even towards the end of Next Generation, it wasn't that good because the original writer's dead. So where are we going to do off with it? Like, everyone's acting was good. You got to see some cool shit, but it really wasn't all there.
Well, it's also like what Mark Hamill was saying when they had all the Star Wars spin-off movies in between the new trilogy with the older cast and the new generation cast. Really, he was saying, I don't think there's going to be too much Star Wars too soon.
Yeah.
And I think that played in the effect of the quality suffering in, like, what was it? Last Jedi and Rise of Skywalker. Rise of Skywalker was, I mean, the more you read in the Rise of Skywalker, how that movie was just, it was just fucked from the beginning.
There was too many cooks in the kitchen, and that was ultimate failure. We got to see cool shit. We got to see Return of somebody that should have been dead. But it's crazy.
There were also things in Rise of Skywalker that just didn't make any sense. Like now they could exchange physical objects through the Force, and I could go on and on about that. I know Jeff's got a whole episode of Movie Morgue where he just shits on it, and rightfully so. Rise of Skywalker, like, I left the theater. I was actually in the theater with Rashetter. We watched it together, and we said, you know, it really wasn't the worst movie that we ever saw. And then the more we thought about it, we were like, you know what? Yeah, there was like shit that didn't make sense, and it was just bad.
Yeah.
It was just bad. I mean, losing Carrie Fisher didn't really help it either, because you think we were actually going to see her be a Jedi for
that would
once.
Been amazing.
I know. And, you know, being a Star Wars fan that I am, I always knew in the back of my mind that Leia could bring so much more to the franchise than just be the princess with a blaster.
I was glad to see her become a general, and she had such a presence when she showed up. I was in shock.
And the other thing is, Carrie Fisher is so good as Leia.
Yeah.
I mean, I always saw Carrie Fisher as a very talented actress, and she's just kind of known for being Princess Leia, and then later on she started getting known for being a bit of a comedian. She does have a stand-up, and she had like mental health issues, and she acknowledged them and poked fun at herself. I mean, a lot of shit Carrie Fisher did was like actually really admirable, and you know, I admit I missed the hell out of her. I think she was fucking awesome. You know, I think she was also like inspirational to people with mental health disorders, and also like a good like role model for women in general. I thought she was like really badass, you know, to just do her own thing and just be Carrie Fisher and have her own success.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think she really got that. I don't even think when she died she really got that, which was a damn shame.
Yeah.
But yeah, I always thought Carrie Fisher was more than just Princess Leia.
I mean, watching her in Blues Brothers.
Oh my god, dude. Blues Brothers is like, oh.
That, and then watching her in The Burbs with Tom Hanks.
That's
Those two characters that she played, like, obviously polar opposites, but that very forceful presence that she had, it fit. Even poking fun at herself in Scream 3 was even funnier.
That's what I mean. Carrie Fisher. She's just fucking awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, and remember the movie Fanboys?
Oh my gosh, yes. I was going to bring that up.
Well, she has a cameo in that. So does Ray Park, who was Darth Maul, and Billy D. Williams. You know, you get some cameos from people in the actual movies.
All right, so catch everybody up. There's a movie out there called Fanboys. It's about a group of friends that want to go break into Skywalker Ranch to watch the
episode 1.
Yeah, before it comes out, because their one friend is dying of cancer or some sort of illness. So the whole thing plays out. You actually get to see exactly what we're talking about. You get to see the Trekkies versus the Star Wars.
That's true.
And
was it Seth
Rogen? He plays both sides. Yeah. So he plays like a head Trekkie, and then he plays a huge Star Wars nerd who has a giant Jar Jar Binks tattoo on his back. And it's funny watching this go, because like we're watching this happen over the course of the entire movie, and in the end, it's just funny because like this is how the world views us, and as funny as it really is, this is how this nerd galaxy is always going to be portrayed, because we're all nerds at the end of the day. It's two stupid things we're going to argue about till the day we die. And that's actually what sparks this conversation. As I've been saying, I'm a huge Trekkie, obviously. But as I'm watching the shows play out now, in both universes, we'll go with. All right, so when CBS became CBS Plus or Paramount Plus, they created a whole new Star Trek universe. As Disney Plus started creating a whole new Star Wars universe within already their movie universe. Wow, that's a lot of a mouthful there. So, like, as you're watching both these things play out, I am actually leaning towards Star Trek because they're taking something we know. They built upon it, And then they jumped ahead 900 years to get rid of any character that is involved with original series, next gen, everything gone. So they created a whole new series based upon that. They also brought back Picard in his own series, show up what happened after next gen, what he dealt with. And then they brought in a whole new series based around Christopher Pike, who they introduced in season 2 of Discovery. Then we go over to Star Wars, where we've got The Mandalorian, which introduced how many characters in the second season, which still pisses me off. Then they're creating... Hold on. They did Boba Fett, which ends up wrecking it because it becomes Mandalorian season 3. And now we're doing Ahsoka and Obi-Wan Kenobi. So you've got a lot going on in both camps. Even though I always compare the new trilogy of Star Trek to the new trilogy of Star Wars, because at the end of the day, that trilogy, Star Trek's trilogy, is going to be better because it's more thought out. Even though it was happening a little bit before Star Wars was happening. So, like, to me, I'm looking at that aspect. So there's a lot going on, like I said, in both camps. So you're going to have high points and low points. And I think that's where, right now, as fans across the board, you're getting a lot of content, which is nice. The whole streaming service is what's bringing more stuff out steadily.
Yeah, I agree. I like it. I'm very looking forward to Obi-Wan. And I've been enjoying... I didn't actually watch all The Mandalorian, but I
just wrecked it entirely.
No. I knew about it because I was keeping up with it because I don't have Disney Plus. But every time I watched The Mandalorian, I was like, wow, this is definitely like what was sorely missing for all these years. I mean, I really wouldn't care if they would reboot and just like kind of whitewash the new movies away of the Star Wars movies. I mean, Force Awakens was really fucking cool. I like Adam Driver and him as what was it?
Kylo Ren?
Yeah, that's it. But I mean, as a whole, they just weren't worth it because the second and third movie that followed, it was like you don't care.
Yeah.
You know, you lose interest, and I thought it was kind of cheap to just have the Emperor come back, and it's like, of all people, and it's the only one. And here they even said there's a book that explains it more, that it's not really the Emperor, it's a clone. And yeah, I know. And there's all sorts of things wrong with Rise of Skywalker. And the stories are out there, and it sounds like a project that shouldn't have been made, or it just shouldn't have been rushed. It should have just been take your time, make it right, and they didn't do it. It was more about, we got to get it out, which is always a bad idea. You never want to rush something, especially a major franchise like that. I mean, it kind of killed Star Wars until Jon Favreau did The Mandalorian, and everybody said, well, holy shit, this is what Star Wars needed. And at first I was like, well, what's a Star Wars franchise without any Jedi, really? Because I always was more fascinated by them, but it works.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't say I'm like one of the hugest Mandalorian fans, but I thought it was so cool how they used the carbonite in the ships to hold their hostages because they know they're going to try to escape. So the special pieces of armor that they get, how they don't take off the helmets, how Boba Fett's not really a Mandalorian, he just has the Mandalorian armor.
Well, technically he is. There's two, the whole war on Mandalorian is two separate fractions, and that's what they play up in season 2. When you get there, you'll start seeing it a little more. Like, they're expanding the universe that's already in existence, because, once again, there's a time gap between Return of the Jedi and Force Awakens, so you got, 30 years? Yeah, I think it's 30 years, give or take. So, there's time. They have more than enough time to play around it, especially both gaps.
Oh, for sure.
But it's cool seeing, Disney trying to now piece together new stuff. But it's cool seeing, I feel like Jon Favreau should be a showrunner. He should keep what he's doing and not let too many cooks in the kitchen. If they keep that, it should be fine. But it's just once again, are they going to oversaturate?
Mm-hmm. I am looking forward to see what the next phase with Luke is going to be, because I know they do a digital face of Mark Hamill, which, hey, whatever. I mean, you know it's Luke Skywalker.
Yeah.
The best way I can say it. It's not actually Mark Hamill.
I mean, they got enough people, even on their payroll, to play young Luke.
I'm happy though that they do go back to more of the practical effects again, like how Yoda was back as a puppet, Baby Grogu was a puppet essentially, and a lot more of the other characters were as well. Because that's really where the heart of those movies are. When you saw everything CGI in the prequels, that's where I just roll my eyes and go, this CGI looks so bad, and it's not even going to age well. When you could watch Empire and Jedi see Yoda and go, that still looks good.
Yeah.
But I mean, Luke's gotta have so many adventures that I'm just like, that to me would be the next step, is to see what Luke would do, and to see what other adventures he could go on, and like maybe him and Mandalorian would get into some shit. Maybe he would meet the girl that, fuck, I forget her name, that becomes his wife.
Oh yeah, that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, and I remember she had red hair. I just think that would be so cool, because I also just thought Luke was just, when he was full-fledged Jedi, it was just so cool seeing him in all black with the hood and the cape and then the green lightsaber. You know, like like being a movie guy and an art guy, you're always kind of like having your mind and your eyes go to colors and schemes, and of course, like in like filmmaking, you know, cinematography plays a big part in certain things, and some of the shots in Star Wars, like Darth Vader in Rogue One, when the lightsaber comes out in the big fight scene, was like super awesome, because that red just illuminated this, not silhouette, but like this outline of him. Oh, so cool. And then when Luke makes his appearance at the end of Mandalorian season 2, it's like, oh shit, this is so cool too, you know, to see this image and more Luke again, because it's like, that to me is where a lot of the heart of Star Wars is.
Yeah.
And I think they should have had sequels in the mid to late 90s instead of the prequels, because you could pretty much do prequels whenever.
Oh yeah.
But you had Harrison Ford, Mark Hamill, and Carrie Fisher right there.
Yeah.
And that was the problem. And I think the shows are definitely what's saving Star Wars more than anything now. And as you said, Star Trek, with their movies, they were definitely having more substance to them.
Yeah.
And you could see it. You could just see it in the quality of the films. Well, hell, J.J. Abrams did
Actually,
both Star Wars and Star Trek.
Well, dude's a nerd, and you can tell that he loved both source materials. And that's kind of funny that he has done both. I think he did the first two movies on Star Trek, and then did the first and last movies of Star Wars.
Yeah. Ugh.
It's one of those things, like, I wonder if he would have done all three on Star Wars and done all three on Star Trek, how differently everything would have played out. Because, like you said, he's a nerd. You can see he loves the source material, that he was moving forward with it, what it would have played out to be. It might have been a totally different, like, as you're reading, it could have been a totally different thing, but would it have been?
Well, even Carrie Fisher's, you know, passing put a damper in things and a twist in the franchise.
Still would love to see her with lightsaber.
Oh, me too.
I'm not gonna lie, I still want to see an Ultimate crossover. I think I would love to see how that would play out.
Interesting.
Because, like, now with Disney doing the multiverse, and I'm curious to see how that would play out. But Star Trek has always done alternate realities. So bringing in, they call it the mirror universe, where your other side is evil. I'm wondering if that could have actually played into effect, because, like, they re-brought that back up recently in Discovery, where this alternate universe was still happening, no matter what. So, like, yeah, you've got evil versions of everybody. And it's cool seeing, like, how that played out, because, like, as soon as I saw it, I got excited, because, like, originally when we saw it, it was Spock and Kirk with, you know, goatees. And it's like, it'd be cool to see if they found another pocket of a different universe leading over to that, or even if they're in the same universe, would be funnier, like, this whole time.
Yeah.
Because I know Doctor Who has done a crossover with Star Trek a couple of times, and that makes a little more sense because, you know, it's Doctor Who.
Mm-hmm. I can see that. I also remember seeing this alternate universe where, what if Vader killed the Emperor, took over, and Luke and Leia became evil, and there's fan drawings of it, and they're really cool. You know, Vader sitting in the Emperor's throne with Luke and Leia and red lightsabers in their hand by his sides. I was like, that would be something to see, whether it be animated or an alternate, mini series or something. I'd totally be down for that.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, yeah, I understand that it's not Carrie Fisher, it's not Mark Hamill, but if these digital faces will at least just give us a, hey, here's, something that we should have done, but you're getting it now, I'm for it.
I'd say was it Marvel's What If?
Yeah, that's exactly what it would be. And I would definitely prefer those stories and them rectifying what those last 3 Star Wars movies were. Ugh.
But here's a fun fact. Star Trek was winning the money game up until Rogue One actually came out. And that's what I thought was funny. I'm like, it took literally a back story to get them over the top.
At that time, there were way more Star Trek movies as well. Now, did they make as much money as Star Wars did? No. There was also just like way more shows when at times Star Wars was just kind of dormant. It was either 1, 2, and 3, and then they did the 1, 2, and 3. I don't know, like they added the new stuff to it.
Yeah, special editions.
Yeah, I remember I saw Return of the Jedi in the theater.
I think there's 2 alternates because I feel like there's like the special edition and then the Lucas edition, which added more.
Oh yeah, probably. Well, I mean, one of the stupidest things they did was they went back to Return of the Jedi and added James Earl Jones going, no, and he sees Luke getting shot up by lightning. I'm like, no, don't. The best is like
the silence.
Exactly, because you don't know what he's gonna do. Because it's like, is Vader evil? Is he gonna change? Like I remember watching it for the first time, and you're like, Luke's just gonna get out of this, right? Because there's no way he's gonna change. And then sure enough,
yeah,
Vader does it. Holy hell! And I was like, what?
Yeah.
No fucking way.
And that might be the thing. Like at that time, like we had Empire and that come out, Return of the Jedi, and I think they were on their 4th movie working on Next Gen, almost like a crossover. So like you said, yeah, I can see like with that happening, like, there's a lot going on. It did seem like the 80s and 90s Star Trek was kind of like a stranglehold. So there really wasn't much room for Star Wars because Lucas didn't know what he wanted to do. He may have had storyline, but did he really?
I don't even know if he really knew what was going on. When you watch the documentaries and listen to these things, I don't even think he had Vader being the father originally and Luke and Leia being related. I felt like that was just some shit later on that they said, like, wouldn't this be cool?
Yeah.
That's literally what it felt like. Like, it probably wouldn't surprise me that the original line in Empire Strikes Back was, Obi-Wan actually killed your father. Like, that was in the script.
Yeah.
And then they said that James Earl Jones, George Lucas, the director, and Mark Hamill, maybe David Prowse, the actor in the Darth Vader suit, knew what the real line was. But I feel like if it happened, just from like the way shit was said, I feel like it was during production where they said, this doesn't have an impact. You know what would be more impactful is if he would say, I'm your father. Because, I mean, let's face it, Jedi didn't come out until 3 years later. So they were like, let's change this up now.
Well, let's cross this out.
Exactly.
But even if you look from A New Hope to Empire, the kiss between Luke and Leia was not.
and in Empire Strikes Back, if you watch a trailer, there is this full-out making out scene with Leia and Luke. And you're like, what?
What the fuck do you do here, bud? Oh my god.
I will say this, if they want a young kid to play a young Princess Leia, what was her name? Millie Bobby Brown from Stranger Things? Dude, she looks like right fucking like Carrie Fisher.
I can see that.
So you need another Carrie Fisher. There you go. After Stranger Things.
I mean, that's almost done too.
Yeah. Hope it goes out with a bang. And I mean that just like on a good note.
Yeah. It's like trying to think of something without going too far in depth because like don't want to pull away from something else.
Well, the only other thing I can really say about, like this Enlightenment episode is that, like you said, Star Trek is more Space Navy, exploring other things with a philosophical and morality tone to it. Star Wars was more political based with good versus evil. Some sense of morality, like how far are you willing to go? Will you like get pushed over to the dark side? What side are you really on? Like, is what you're doing actually worth it? And has like some of the heart of like classic Greek mythology and like the Iliad and the Odyssey, at its core in there. And some of the ultimate surprises. I mean, that when the last 3 new movies came out, excuse me, they were making a big deal about the surprises in Star Wars, like what's gonna shock us next.
Yeah.
It was almost a staple.
So it's like they threw a fucking curveball for no reason for throwing a curveball. I'd say even the big names, they kind of did do both sets. Like I said, J.J. Abrams did both. I know Idris Elba actually played the villain in the last Star Trek movie, which was actually kind of cool. I didn't expect it. I think Simon Pegg actually played in Star Wars, well, obviously in Star Trek.
Yeah, that's right. He was in both.
Yeah, so it's kind of cool seeing that there are fans of both still doing both. But I think the biggest shocking thing was actually seeing Chris Pine. I keep trying to say Pike. That's the character that precedes Kirk. He was actually the biggest shock playing Kirk for me. Because I'm like,
really?
I didn't really expect anything from it. Like, even watching that first movie, I didn't expect to actually enjoy it. It wasn't until watching it, like, I actually fell in love with it. Because, like you said, the whole alternate reality, how's this going to play out? Chris Hemsworth playing his dad. And
that's right. Was Winona Ryder?
Yep, that was Spock's mom.
Yeah.
So it's kind of cool. Like that first movie, you go back and rewatch it. There's a lot that I think a lot of people missed, and for a next generation of fans, I can't believe I just said that. I feel like because I know they're working on a 4th, so it's like I would love to see something move forward with this too.
Yeah, I remember there was a big rumor that Tarantino they wanted to direct it, and I just felt like that's.
Listen, is Kirk gonna say fuck a lot?
That would be some funny shit.
What the fuck? Set them fucking faces a stun. We're gonna fuck it. Oh my gosh. I mean, it'd be a twist.
Yeah, really.
I mean, even what's her face? That plays Gamora. She was playing Uhura. I can't even say her name right. Uhura.
Uhura. Yeah.
And then I know recently the woman who played in Black Panther is playing I think a weapons specialist in Discovery.
Okay.
So it's kind of cool seeing, like you said, the crossovers.
I think now that crossovers have been more accepted and there is this big, I don't know, like coming together of things and fans want to see it, even if it's just fodder, it'll have a chance now and they'll probably do it. It might seem like we're going to jump the shark kind of thing here, but I still think it'll be okay.
Yeah. And I'm curious, like I said, I'm curious to see what comes from both camps. So it's like, other than that, like, I don't know, other than going in great detail of everything, because we can do multiple episodes on this alone, but it's like, it might be a good point to end.
Yeah. I would just say to the people that there really is such a major difference between these two franchises that I can see, like I said, with some of the simple things as to why they would have these comparisons and have a versus thing, because even though there was that 11-year gap, it was still like very science fiction. You still had this core group of people that you followed, but yeah, I mean, they were like two totally separate things, and I mean, we just went into detail about them anyway, and I think it's all a matter of your taste. Like, you're more Star Trek, and I'm more Star Wars.
But it's fun to enjoy them both, because at least there's two different aspects. You're able to enjoy the differences instead of it being exactly the same. Like, I'm not going to say I'm going to watch Battlestar Galactica ever, because I've tried. But that could be also a third focal point of fighting, because there are very similarities between that and Star Wars.
I also just love that like with these expanded universes and movie, show, comic books even, like it provides so much work for creative people and who are fans. It's like, hey, you could work on the show, you could be an actor, you could be crew, you could, do this for the movie, you could do this for the show, you could do it for an event yet.
Yeah.
They like keep creating, and as long as they keep on having these cool characters, because I mean, both of these shows are very character based. I mean, anybody can be in like a space navy, but it's like, will it work?
Yeah.
This space wizard world of Star Wars, like it could almost be Harry Potter, really, in a lot of ways. It's just done in a science fiction way and not a magic way.
But I feel like even with Star Trek being science fiction, they did base a lot of stuff in reality. So they did take more of the science part of it. Because if you look at a lot of stuff that they had, we're using today. Come on, tablets, wrist communicators, and even your cell phone, and automatic doors.
Well, I know I'd love that teleportation system, so I don't have to worry about driving anymore.
I get so lazy about it. Go to the fridge.
Yeah. I think it would just be wild too. It'd just be like all dissolved, and then like, oh, I'm in Wisconsin.
I mean, it would be a cool concept, because even on the recent show, they're introducing intership teleportation, where you literally just hit your chest and you move to where you have to go instead of walking there.
Love that.
I mean, like I said, I'd get lazy about it. Oh no, I'm running late for work. Well,
yep. I mean, we're already living in a fast-paced society, so hey, why not?
Yeah, like maybe they were ahead on a lot of.
Hey, they want to talk about going green. Yeah, let's just like dissolve our molecules and come back and be like, hey, here I am.
That would be horrible if you get mixed up, come back, your arms like in your leg. It's cool, like seeing like even technology keeping up with like, oh yeah, they can do it on a show. Can we do it now? I'd say that's crazy.
We're seeing that stuff too. Like, look at Batman. There was a whole episode on the History Channel about like when Batman Begins and The Dark Knight were coming out. They talked about all his gadgets and stuff, and I remember in Batman Begins they talked about that cape being memory cloth, where you run the electric current and if it made a skeleton or a shape inside, it could like generate enough power to like make it like fill out or whatever you want to say about it. And they do have something where it's like a magnet fabric, but the magnets work really slow. That was the last I heard about it, and that's going on 10 plus years ago. But they got grappling hooks, they got some form of lasers in the military, and other sorts of wild shit. I think they even said they have a Tumbler kind of esque vehicle, but
so a mobile tank.
Yeah. So I mean, a lot of the stuff that we're being shown, and a lot of stuff that like these creators come up with, actually have existed, and they're just bringing it to the forefront. They just have read this stuff and say, hey, why don't we like come up with this as an idea and interject it in here?
Yeah. I would say a good documentary is the 50th anniversary. They put out one on the History Channel for Star Trek. I would say check that out. That had a lot there, and I'm trying to think, like, I haven't really seen too many crazy Star Wars ones. I know there's one for, if you buy the box set, the original box set, when it came out on Blu-ray, they had one in there. But other than that, I'm like, there's really not too many like crazy documentaries for that. Other than that, just there's a lot of reading.
Yeah.
On both sides.
Yeah, really. That was the main source of new material for Star Wars for quite a long time. And I will say, Star Wars brings back a lot of fun memories for me, just because I was more into Star Wars, and I always got into the characters, and I remember seeing a lot more of the Star Wars characters at comic book stores and stuff like that, and I just enjoyed that and the adventures of it mixed with some good action in it, I thought. Star Trek was a little too slow paced for me, but I enjoy it. I mean, the originals, I should say.
Yeah.
I couldn't get into Next Generation or Deep Space Nine or whatever else they had. Like it just got to the point where there was like way too much Star Trek. I didn't even know what the fuck was going on.
They're in space.
Yeah.
We actually spent so much time watching Star Trek when Thea was younger. Like, we couldn't sleep because Thea was like itty bitty. We'd actually leave Next Gen on the whole time. So that, because we knew we were going to be up. So whenever we were up, we just ended up watching an episode because we had to feed Thea. And it was kind of funny because I'm like, that's like one of the fondest memories I have is just letting it go and then waking up, getting her, watching it, going back to sleep. Literally just the whole time it's playing. 8 seasons. But it was funny because even when she started getting a little older, I was showing her the original series. So it's like kind of seeing her reaction to everything happening was kind of cool too. Because like you're introducing now a new fan to that. It's cool seeing like the monsters and how bad the makeup is again. There is an animated series for Star Trek, but I would not advise anybody to watch it.
Oh, gee.
I tried. It's bad, like 70s animation. It made it even more comical than it really should have been. There's a lot of memes out there with the Captain Kirk with the hand over the mouth going, oh. Yeah, that's where that comes from.
Hey, well, for horror fans, we also got a lot to be thankful for because Captain Kirk inspired the Michael Myers mask.
Yeah. I always love that story because they're like, oh yeah, why don't you shave the sideburn?
Paint it white, cut the eyes open a little bit, and it looked just like a pale blank face.
I mean, but who really wants to wear Captain Kirk's face? I can understand the uniform, but why his face? Some Leatherface shit right there.
Yeah, I know, right?
Oh, I can understand even doing Spock's the Vulcan ears. Come on. But maybe under the concept of like when we were younger we wanted to be Batman and Ninja Turtles we'd wear their face.
Yeah. I think that was the overall concept of it. Like if like say like like you know, you had dark hair, dark eyebrows, dark eyes. I don't know if William Shatner had light eyes, but he had lighter hair.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, here's a mask with his face, so here you go. Knock yourself out, kid.
I actually base a lot of my leadership on Star Trek because it actually showed me that, yeah, you're in control, but you also have to show empathy and work as a team when you're a group of 3. So it's kind of funny watching that. All right, how about we end this up? Do you have a favorite character from each side?
I can't really say I have a favorite one from Star Trek just because I didn't really get super into it. Without naming the cliche original guys, you know, like probably Bones from Star Trek. I was like, yeah, I'm really getting into this character, and
He's such a smartass.
I know, that's what I think I liked about him the most. And I actually thought Zulu was pretty cool, George Takei. But Star Wars, I mean, hands down to me, is Darth Vader. Always has been, and always will be, I think. Unless somebody else that's cool and badass comes around, but I just thought he was the best.
That's actually pretty cool.
Oh.
Actually, I'm gonna go with Spock because I think he has a lot more depth than what everyone believes, and he shows, without showing emotion, he showed the most emotion. Because Leonard Nimoy did an amazing job.
Mm-hmm.
Even keeping up with the character up until his death, I thought that was amazing.
That is really cool.
And then, plus, like, I always thought he was a fun character, even when Zachary Quinto took him over. So it's like trying to stay that, you know, neutral, logical aspect without actually breaking.
Mm-hmm.
Now here's a tough one for me, because, like, I wouldn't obviously go the cliche of Vader, but I mean, look at Han Solo as a character. He's grown over the course of 4 movies. But it was funny. I was like identified more with him than I did with anybody else, because like I was never, as much as I would love to be a Jedi or a Sith, in reality I knew it was never going to happen. I could be an asshole with a gun. That grumpy old guy.
You can see you more as Chewbacca though.
I know. If you physically look at me. Just be the co-pilot. Let's just do this.
Yeah, I gotta say, like, probably the Skywalkers in general, like, like I really enjoyed Luke and seeing him go through the training and becoming better. It was almost like a bodybuilding thing where it's like, okay, tone and hone and focus and prep, and then like once you finally reach your full potential, you're just you know on top. And knowing that how talented Carrie Fisher was, and then seeing that there could have been so much more potential for that. Like I said, if they CGI her, get Millie Bobby Brown, and give us more Princess Leia and her becoming a Jedi or something, I'm totally down for that. But the thing about Vader for me was also, there was just something about him as a kid that, like I said, I didn't really root for bad guys, but for him I did.
Yeah.
I think it was because he just looked so cool, and I had this shirt that had a picture of him on it. It was a hand-me-down from my cousins. And I, for the longest time, didn't know who it was, and I was like, who is this? And then my mom and dad explained it to me, and I was like, oh, but he was the bad guy. And then here you hear the story arc about him as Anakin to now, and then being the father, and you're like, I mean, even as a kid, I was so shocked, because I was like, the main bad guy is the main hero's father? It's like, what? Whoa!
That's awesome.
Plus the little moves, like the pointing, and how I've always said that there's so much emphasis on eyes for actors, and it's true that there is a lot of emphasis, and a lot of the story can be told in your performance through your eyes, but a good actor will still find a way to sell a performance. And I thought David Prowse did a very good job with either just like the little pointing, never mind the fact he's almost 7 feet tall.
He's a big guy.
And the breathing and James Earl Jones's voice. It's like, to be Darth Vader is a combination of things, and just never mind the fact that like you combine all that and his look and the demeanor and who he is and the intimidating presence, and plus he wears a cape. It's so cool.
So the cape sold it for you?
Yeah. It was the cherry on top.
I don't remember the next step.
Capes are cool.
Get out of here.
So with that being said, we shall sign off. This is Collin Peters.
And Jeff Manfred.
Thank you all once again for listening. Stay safe. Stay crazy.
Please, somebody help me.
Oh, yeah.